Hello and welcome, friends, to episode 9 of JoeShine's Let's Play Kerbal Space Program Career Mode. And we're picking up exactly where we left off with Burrod Kerman heading down towards the surface of the moon. If we take a quick reminder, we're coming in on close to the center of this crater. I need to just make sure that I'm over the lip there, and oh well, I am. Never mind. Ha ha ha. I thought that I was further out. I'm closer than I expected to be. So let's start getting rid of some of this lateral velocity. Yeah, and so hopefully we have not only the fuel to land, but the fuel to get home. I feel like we did just fine the last time when we were out to Minmus. So hopefully, yeah, I'm trying to control this a little bit, but I don't have an idea about how high up I actually am. I have no idea what the altitude is. At some point, like now, I'll be able to see a shadow. I'd like to get this down under 10 meters per second as I land. Don't want to break anything. Certainly not... well, not the landing legs, but certainly not the engines if I then fall over, because I'd like to be able to get back home. But we're doing just fine. This is lovely. Bring this back up a little bit. Yeah. Coming in ever so gently. Lower that down. Feathered touch. No, that was a little hard, but you know what? We didn't fall over. Yay! Here we are. Okay, so time to do some science. I think, like we said, we're going to be taking all this back. I actually meant to do one of these in orbit, so this time I'm going to try and remember to do this on the way home. We did look at one of our materials bays in low orbit over the moon. So that's good. And yeah, so at this point we have, I think, all the science, and now we'll let Burrod climb out. Turn on his RCS thrusters and stand back in awe of what has been done here. Lovely, lovely. See, and he's just having a great time. It's good to have a crew that is appreciative of your efforts. So let's do an EVA report. We'll take a surface sample. Combination of breccia and melted materials. I wonder how much of the melted materials was for us. I didn't plan out anything interesting and poetic to put on a flag, so I may worry about that another time. But at this point, let's see. Oh, how do we jump here? Oh, we're doing just fine. Except that I'm bad at it. Come on. That was surprising. But as we're recording this, I'm I'm not as far ahead of my recordings as I sometimes am. So there was just a Falcon 9 launch just earlier this week, and that was very exciting, going up to the ISS. And it got me thinking about some of the things that we've come to just sort of take for granted. And I don't know if the thought is fully formed or not. But you know, it's wonderful that we have the SpaceX, the Falcon and the Dragon capsule and all these great things. And I do love it, but I'm wondering if there is, I don't know, maybe I don't know. See, obviously the thought is not fully formed. I think that we have possibly too little acceptance or tolerance for risk. And what I mean by that is we are still in the early days of this second age of exploration. And second, of course, there have been many, but sort of thinking specifically of exploration of space as compared to the exploration of our own world in sort of the great age of exploration by sea and all the wonderful and inspiring and frankly amazing and death-defying captains, explorers, and crews that sort of filled in the map. And oops, I did that the wrong way. I remember reading at some point, looking back on the great age of sail, talking about the Magellans and the Columbuses and even later into the various European nations, East India companies. And let's just double check here before we take off. Yes, we've taken care of all that. Okay, good. The survival rate was something like 1 in 4 ships that went out was just not coming home. And that's just mind-boggling, you know? The thought that this was just an accepted risk, that these men and women, okay, almost entirely men, were going out for years at a time, and not only years at a time, but very likely there was a very decent chance that they were just never coming home. And especially for longer careers, like, that's just nuts. You know, I can't even, I almost can't express the idea that was just what you do. You're going out there and you are taking it on faith that you'll come home at all. And yes, that's crazy, but in like a very real way, the exploration of the planet, and yes, all of the terrible things that came with it of unenlightened cultural intermingling of Europeans basically just walking around and killing everything, but also this discovery and the science that did come out of it, and a broader understanding. Modernity wouldn't have happened without a larger sense of the world and our place in it. That like this only happened because there was this acceptance of the risk. And I wonder if today we are maybe a little too risk averse. And, what got me thinking about this is obviously the launches that are going on right now. It's a very cool time to be interested in space. And I'm very pleased that I get to live in a time when we are having very real discussions about not only planets around other stars, but the idea of actually finding life somewhere in even our own solar system. In the rock on Mars, maybe, under the ice on Enceladus, or wherever it is. I think that this is very cool and very, very interesting. But then you have a group like Mars One that is kind of blasted as being totally unreasonable, which I don't know that it is. They recently, I think, put out the preliminary I guess selection process, I guess is the point, for who's gonna be selected to possibly go off and never come back. It's, I think, unfortunate that the reaction people have given to this is so it's as if people feel that this is so completely absurd that, in the name of science, you are going out with the very likely possibility of never coming back. And I don't know that that's fair. Well, and as I'm talking about this, I decided to try and freehand my return to Kerbal and did it badly, but that's okay. I hope we still have plenty of fuel for this. Oh, I was going the wrong. See, I was distracted by pie in the sky science. Yeah, I guess the point of this kind of random rambling was simply that it is an interesting time, and if we are willing to make certain, and sacrifices isn't even the right word, but let's say sacrifices, then we open ourselves up as a species, as a culture, to greater possible discoveries. And that's not to say that the space program or space exploration as it is doesn't include risk, because of course it does. But I'm wondering if maybe there are some ideas out there that deserve another look. Anyway, this is me. Until next time, have fun. Game on.